I had question number 8 for creative problem solving set 5. Question 8 reads, find the coordinates xy of the vertex C of equilateral triangle ABC where a equals 0, b equals 9, 13, and the x value of C is greater than 0. So to start, we're going to draw a graph here of what the triangle could possibly look like. So we're going to have our y-axis and our x-axis. And since the problem said that the x value is greater than 0, we don't have to worry about the left side of this. So it's going to be over here. So we have 0, 0 of point A, and then we're going to count out to like 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 9, go up to here, probably like right there for point B, so 9, 13, so we're going to have this, our line segment AB right there, and then our point C, for it to be an equilateral triangle, has to somewhat go a little beyond the x-axis, because the equilateral triangle, all the sides are equal. So just to make somewhat of a sketch here, it's going to come down here, and then also for A, we're going to draw a straight line. That way it'll meet, kind of. There we go. It's about the same. It doesn't have to be spot on. You just have to know that like it's equal. So just try and do it to the best of your ability. So this is going to be point C, which is going to have an x value and a y value right there. So the first thing we should do is we should probably use the distance formula to solve the length of this line right here. The distance formula is going to be distance equals your x2 minus x1, it's going to be all the square root, this squared, plus your y2 minus y1 squared. So for points A and B here, we're going to do 9 minus 0 squared plus 13 minus 0 squared, all in the square root. So we get 9 squared plus 13 squared, so 81 plus 169 equals 250, the square root of 250. So the distance of AB, line segment AB, is 250. So with that in mind, since all these sides are the same length, all these sides are equal to the square root of 250. So with that in mind, we can try and solve for one of these values, either the x and y, using point B with relation to C. So we're going to try and find the distance of BC. It's going to equal the square root of, we can do x minus 9 squared plus y minus 13 squared. And since it has to equal 250, we can set it equal to the square root of 250, since we already know the answer is going to be. So then it's going to come down, you square each side, square root's going to cancel, so you get x minus 9 squared plus y minus 13 squared equals 250. So this equation is going to prove to be very important to solve for the length of these sides, and you need the length of this, or the length of the y, the x length, to get the coordinates here. So this is very important, so we have to probably circle, make sure we don't forget about it. So we'll do this. So we have that, and then from here, we're going to want to factor out x minus 9 and y minus 13. So we're going to multiply them by each other, so x minus 9 equals x squared minus 18x plus 81. Do the same thing with x minus 13, or y minus 13. It's going to equal y squared minus 26y plus 169. So with these, we can eventually set those equal to 250 again. So we're just going to plug in. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to have x squared minus 18x plus 81 plus y squared minus 26y plus 169 equals 250. So what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to try and solve for y squared, which we originally have, because since the distance equation is we have the square root of x squared plus y squared equals the square root of 250. If we just go ahead and square each side like we did earlier, so we get 250 equals x squared plus y squared, we can solve for either one of those, whether it be solve it in terms of y or solve it in terms of x. So what I did is I went ahead and solved it in terms of y to get everything in the same, to get everything in terms of x. So y squared equals 250 minus x squared. So with this in mind, we're going to go ahead and plug that in for y squared. So we have x squared minus 18x plus 81 plus 250 minus x squared minus 26y plus 169 equals 250. So then we have, so our x squared is going to cancel, leaving us with negative 18x plus 81 plus 250 minus 26y plus 169 equals 250. Our 250s will end up canceling, get rid of those. So now we have negative 18x plus 81 minus 26y plus 169 equals 0. So with this, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put everything in the like terms. So these are going to simplify. So 18x minus 26y plus 250 equals 0. With this, we can go ahead and divide by 2 or pull out a 2. So we get negative 9x minus 13y plus 125. Add it over to make sure our variables are positive here. That's just personal preference here. So we're going to end up getting 9x plus 13y equals 125. So with that, we're going to go ahead and solve in terms of y, or solve for y. That way we can get our y value up here. So move everything over, so 13y equals negative 9x plus 125. Divide by 13. Our y equals negative 9/13x plus 125 over 13. So that's our y. That's our y point for C. So what we can do with this is we can eventually turn it around and solve for x using the same thing. So to solve for x, we're going to want to put, I'll go ahead and leave this here, I'll put another piece of paper here. So we're going to have, we still have these equations, x squared plus y squared equals 250, x squared plus y squared equals 250. We're going to use the same equation to solve for x. So we're going to have x squared plus y squared equals 250. But since we already have y right here, we're going to plug it in. So x squared plus y, so put this in parentheses, so negative 9/13 x plus 125 over 13, square all that equals 250. So you're going to want to factor this out. So we have negative 9/13 x plus 125 over 13, multiply by itself again, negative 9/13 x plus 125 over 13 to get this, okay? So we're gonna pull out our x squared plus, once you factor all of this out, we're gonna do it, so we get positive 81 over 169 x squared, which is from this multiplied by this, plus we're gonna get 125 times this. So we're going to have 125 times 9 over 13. We have 2 of those, so we're going to just go ahead and put a 2 in front of this, plus 125 squared over 20, or over 169. Since 125 times 125 is the same as 125 squared. So with that, we eventually end up with the final product of x squared plus 125 squared over 169 minus, since there's a 2 out front here, we're going to multiply the 9 and 2, minus 18 times 125 over 169 x plus 81 over 169 x squared, just from right here. Set that equal to 250 again. So this is pretty like messy, trying to solve with denominators and everything. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is multiply by 169 on each side. 169, 169. Multiply it in, so we get 169 x squared plus 125 squared minus 18 times 125 x plus 81 x squared equals 250 times 169. Go ahead and combine all our like terms again. So we get 250 x squared from 169 plus 81 minus 18 times 125 x plus 125 squared, and bring over this minus 250 times 169 set equal to 0. And we still don't need a calculator for this, so to make it simpler, we're going to divide by 125. So divide by 125. So that's going to bring us to 2x squared minus 18x plus 125 minus 2 times 169 equals 0. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to do 2x squared minus 18x, and then we're multiply 169 by 2, so 169, 169, 8, 1, 12. So we have 338, which is negative 338, plus 125. So 338 minus 125 is going to be 312. So we're going to have minus 213 equals 0. So we have this, and instead of trying to do like find like x squared, x minus whatever times x minus whatever to get this, we're just going to make it simple and do the quadratic formula. So x equals b plus or minus the square root negative 18 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 213 all over 2a. So then x equals 18 plus or minus 324 plus or minus, this is going to be a positive, so positive 8 times 213 all over 4. And that's going to equal x equals 18 plus or minus the square root of 28 over 4. But we're going to go back to the original problem, and since they said that x needs to be greater than 0, we can throw out the subtraction part of the square root. So our x value basically is going to be 18 plus the square root of 28 over 4. But since it's point C, they want a coordinate, so point C is going to equal 18 plus the square root of 28 over 4, comma, going back to our y value right here with the equation. Since you can't plug equations into WebWork, you got to plug in this, the x value, into the equation. So comma, you're going to get negative 9/13 18 plus the square root of 28 over 4 plus 125/13. And just to make this a little simpler, if you want to multiply the 13 and the 4, you get negative 9 over 52, which is the right answer. So this, you can just leave it as this, and this will be the answer of point C, which is the answer to question 8.